Hello everyone, welcome back to Random Thoughts episode 63 today. We're going to talk about soccer today.
Yeah. So, we've trained quite a few soccer players over the last couple of years, and before that, a few here and there. And I've been astonished by just how badly they need the work.
Yeah, they're...
The ones you've seen are messed up.
For the majority, they're train wrecks. They really are.
Yeah. So we dug a little deeper into that. You saw a really good Dr. Darren Burgess, former
Watched and listened to a lot of stuff
from
him.
Liverpool.
Yep.
And I've been to a couple of these things before. He talks about it. What's the state in terms of the stress on the change of direction stress?
Yeah, so soccer has, in games compared to AFL, and this is from Darren Burgess's, I think it's from his doctorate, so from his PhD,
Yep.
He did movement analysis of soccer versus AFL, and what he found was soccer has 16 times more change of direction, deceleration and acceleration forces on the body. So groins, knees, hips, lower backs, ankles are dealing with 16 times more than AFL. That's in games. In training it gets worse because in soccer you tend to do a lot of small-sided games as you're training, whereas footy it's more kind of kick-to-kick type drills where it's kind of a bit more contained. Soccer's a lot more small-sided stuff. It ups to 20 times.
It's a lot of stress.
The joint forces and the muscle forces as far as change of direction and deceleration forces.
Yeah.
Which over the course of a career and over the course of a game, that's insane.
It's a lot more stress. And what's interesting is that I think that soccer, for some, I suppose, cultural reasons, which I'll go into in a minute, soccer doesn't have the same lifting culture, lifting ethos that other sports have. So if you're a gridiron player, you know you need to go to the gym.
There's a direct correlation between getting better in the gym and getting better at your sport.
And you're building body armour in the form of slabs of muscle.
And so therefore it becomes this cultural thing where we lift like almost before we train.
Lifting is a very obvious underpinning for performance. You have the same thing in rugby. You have the same thing to a lesser extent in AFL, but it's still very highly regarded. So you can,
And especially recently, over the last 10 years, it's really stepped up a lot. And that's again probably thanks to Darren Burgess a lot.
Yeah. And what's interesting in soccer is that it's not just the absence of lifting culture. What there is at the very pinnacle of the sport, there are these, $150 million player transfer fee, these incredibly valuable athletes that are bought by the club. And I think the fact that it's like you purchase a player with a transfer fee makes it even more like do not break them.
Yeah.
And so what happens is they go into a club.
Like a fragile item, like you're buying a piece of technology almost, like you're buying your Mac and you don't want to break it.
Well, you're buying something really expensive. Yeah, and so what happens is that star athlete goes into the
System,
and they will say, "Oh, I don't want to do that." And the strength coach is in a really bad position because it's not like if you're a college strength coach.
Yep.
Athletes come in and you say, "You will do what I tell you, when I tell you, how I tell you."
You go, "Yes, coach, right away, coach," because there's another 50 kids behind you waiting for a scholarship.
Yeah, and so those sports have a much more, we will tell you, how high to jump, what to do, etc., etc. Whereas in
the European model and in the soccer model, it's so much based on play and conditioning. And it's run, play, skills. And from such a young age, these players develop a massive volume of running. And then they get incredibly talented, they get to this high level, and then it's like, well, I've never lifted before, why should I start now?
And so the dynamic there is proven superstar says, not going to do that. And then so there just isn't that, and then what happens is that the juniors look at that and they don't necessarily consciously go, Suarez doesn't lift, I'm not going to lift or whatever.
Yep.
But there's definitely a thing where it's just not it's not a well understood part of the culture. Great example, the trouble I had, I tried to persuade a Socceroo that I'm friends with to get in the gym a couple of times. This is like maybe a decade ago, with no success. I was like, come.
Wouldn't bite.
Because soccer players typically they want to run and
skills.
Yeah.
And sorry, the thing with that's interesting is so you see your Suarez and your Messis and your Ronaldos at the top, but what you don't see is the 100 guys that made it to Division 1 or Section 2 or the reserves and then broke.
Yeah.
And so those guys are not the rule; they're the exception to the rule that could handle the load.
It's like the what's the name of the survivor bias? It's like if you look at billionaires that dropped out of high school, and then you go and you see them, you go, well, look, that's a billionaire who dropped out of high school. It's like, that doesn't mean dropping out of high school is the way to be a billionaire.
It's not like, correlation, therefore I'll drop out and increasing my chances.
I'll drop out of high school and I'll just sit back and become a billionaire.
See what happens.
Yeah, so that survivor bias, the people that survive, biases the impression of...
They're the ones we hear the news about, the stories about, yeah.
And I think there's a massive survivor bias in sport in general. And
you look at people like Kobe Bryant from basketball. I've just finished reading his biography. Fascinating. He basically just drove himself on the ground with the amount of work he did. If you're not training 8 hours a day, I don't want to talk to you. Like, you're just...
Yeah, and he'd call his trainer up. I remember there's this famous story of him calling his trainer up at like 3:30 in the morning.
Can you come for me?
You know, and then everyone's like, oh, well, that's just what you have to do to succeed. It's like, well, actually, you probably would have succeeded a lot better if you trained for 4 hours a day. Still a lot, 4 hours of high intensity stuff. Still great.
Back to soccer, sorry.
Yeah, and so what I think, where I think soccer exists is in this fascinating perfect storm of a lack of getting the importance of strength training, and a sport that really, really, really needs strong bodies to thrive in.
Yeah, because they're in this perfect sweet spot between your sports like footy and rugby and your smaller area sports like netball and basketball. They've kind of got the compactness and the agility requirements of basketball, but then the high speed requirements and demands of a sport like AFL or rugby. Because they get up to top speed, the field's 90 metres long, they run in long bursts, but then they also, there's 22 guys on the field, so there's 18 to 19 in a corner kick situation. There's a lot of ankles and stuff you got to dodge around and dance around and position got to be in.
So it's like groins plus knees plus hamstrings. It's a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, the exciting thing, I really enjoy when we get soccer players in here because it's such a great source of competitive advantage to have someone strength training when not many other people in your sport are doing that. You know, like the disparity. You know, like if you've got a footy player and you're doing strength training as well,
you're one of the normal. You're just keeping up. That's baseline.
But in terms of a way to be exceptional, it's like, this is going to be awesome because if we can make you bulletproof and strong, and people are, and particularly the soccer parents are often surprised that we just want to do running. Like, no, like make him stronger, then he'll run faster.
Or her, yep.
Or her, yeah. So it's an exciting sport to work in. I think in that there's tremendous rewards up for grabs and almost no one taking them up.
Yeah. So what do you think? Not everyone watching this will be in Melbourne and has access to facilities like ours. What can people do as far as soccer players just to start at home?
Okay.
What are the baselines? What are the lowest areas of entry when it comes to S&C or just general body maintenance, if you will?
I think the most important baseline is, as always, building up from a base of mobility and flexibility. If your body can't get into the right positions, if you can't move properly, everything else is academic. So it's that positional or postural capacity. Yep. So that's foam rolling to loosen off the muscles, that's gentle stretching to loosen off the hips.
And for on those two, probably groins and hips are probably the most important, I would think.
Yeah.
Groin from all the lateral load and the kicking across the body.
Yeah. And the big thing is, people time and time again will look at someone with a tight adductor, a tight groin. Like, you've got a groin problem. You've got an adductor problem. It's like, no, you've got an adductor symptom of a glute problem.
Yeah.
Your glute med doesn't work properly, therefore the adductor is having to jump in and do its job.
Or the glute max when you run at high speed, so your adductor magnus is jumping in to become a hip extender when
or
it really should be stabilizer.
Or your hammy's jumping in, or whatever. So it sounds so repetitive, but it comes back to doing my favourite saying from Mark Verstegen. So interesting, two of my three biggest heroes in strength and conditioning. So my three biggest heroes are Mike Boyle,
who's based in Boston and works mostly with ice hockey and baseball,
and who's just
written a bunch of books. He's phenomenal. I'll link to his website.
I love his stuff. Mark Verstegen, who's Mike Boyle's best friend, who owns Exos, which is, I believe, the best in the world at what we do. They're the pinnacle. They're the people we're chasing.
They're the Suarez.
We're a long way off, but they're incredible.
And they did the German team for the last World Cup.
Yeah, and their stats, and so they started 5 years out, and Mark Verstegen's, he's like full detail.
Yeah, it's like military level attention to detail. It's
Like they researched all the hotel, like everywhere they were going, they'd research all the hotels. They'd find the hotel with the best like humidity levels in the air conditioning and like.
So they weren't dehydrated the night before, and then the best softness of beds.
And he has this somewhat awkward phrase. So he's got a great phrase. I'll tell you that in a minute. But he's got this somewhat awkward phrase of. At Exos, we will leave no ethical stone unturned. Because you can't say, because unfortunately, cheats.
Australians would know quite well.
Like, you can't say whatever it takes.
Yep.
Can't say that. Thanks, Essendon.
You're an Essendon supporter too, or were.
Yeah, it's not.
Another episode, we'll leave that for now.
But the phrase that I love that he says is...
who was your third?
Dr. Darren Burgess. He's amazing. Yeah. So anyway, two of my three favourite S&C coaches are soccer people. Because even though he's well known here for his footy, his first love is soccer.
And it was EPL, and he worked with, I think it was Liverpool.
Liverpool,
yep.
yeah. And tells some amazing...
And with the Socceroos too.
And tells some amazing stories there. Anyway, so Mark Verstegen's phrase, which I try and live by, is do the fundamentals brutally well. And that's something we as a business... So don't worry about your parachute running on the beach. Don't worry about all this fancy looking stuff that gets a lot of Instagram views. What are the fundamentals of performance?
And injury prevention and rehab and all this sort of thing.
And do them brutally well.
And frequently.
Yeah.
Do them twice, 3 times a week, every single week, without fail.
And so, again, for soccer it comes back to foam roll to loosen off the tightness. Do your standard crash in 3 stretches, which you can get in our PDF.
Yep.
I'll
link all these things
below. I would add in just a little bit of gentle opening, like a seated adductor stretch as well. Just really light.
The seated sort of open up one.
Yeah.
That, and then probably a hamstring. Did you do a hamstring stretch before? Or a neural floss?
I do a neural floss. Yeah. Should we maybe make up a quick neural floss video sometime in the next couple of weeks?
I'll put both those videos into a thing, put it on YouTube, and then link it on this.
Holy cow!
So you'll have a link to both that butterfly opening the groin stretch,
yeah,
and then which neural floss?
I would do the lying on the back one,
foot into dorsey, and then
yep.
So that will be attached.
Can we talk about neural floss just briefly?
Yeah.
So hamstring. We've talked about hamstring injuries before. And
we haven't really talked about hamstring tightness though. And often it is not actually the hamstring muscle that is tight and short, it's the nerves.
Take it away. Yeah. So I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble. This is like a bit secret, but so a bit of I would call it a dirty little secret of the AFL perhaps, is just how many players, I'm not sure how prevalent it is this last season, a couple of seasons ago, how many clubs were giving epidurals to their players with hamstring tightness. So an epidural is it's basically a nerve blocking thing where you're, and it's most commonly associated with women giving birth. So they give an epidural to block the pain. And what they're having is they were starting to find that if they gave the AFL players epidurals, it actually reduced the neural tightness. So you're getting people who were complaining of hamstring tightness, they were scanned, and the scan came back negative.
For any tears, problems, fascial
nothing that
restrictions?
MRI could show, but then they were going on to sustain some sort of a problem. And so the idea was, well, let's nip it in the bud with this epidural. Not something they're ever going to publicise. You're never going to read about it.
Well, I remember reading back when Brisbane went through their 3-peat. They were talking about players having jabs in ankles and jabs in knees before and during games.
No one's talking about it. But anyway...
so hamstring tightness is often a product of neural tightness, and again it comes back to that glute weakness. If you've got weak glutes and a poor running pattern, your hamstrings and groins will tighten up, and that becomes the symptoms of a bigger cause, which is either the tight nerves through the piriformis and through the sciatic area, or through weak glutes. Yeah.
Because 50%, we all vary a bit anatomically, and in approximately 50% of the population, your sciatic nerve runs through your piriformis.
Directly, like through the muscle.
Yeah, so if the muscle's tight, it's literally just squeezing the nerve.
And so I think, back on that stat, I think 80% of sciatic symptoms are actually piriformis syndrome.
Yeah.
So people who I've got sciatica, I think it was 80. I might be exaggerating.
Let's be careful. It may be.
I'll see if I can find that.
A percentage of.
A significant proportion of sciatic symptoms are actually just piriformis syndrome, where the muscle, where the disc isn't pressing on the nerve, but the muscle is clamped down on it.
So interesting. Yeah. So, the big obvious things to attend to are going to be making sure they've got that neural mobility. Like just getting and the nerve floss is just simply getting that nerve to glide through its surrounding tissue, and just getting the nerve a little more mobile. And what you then do is you cut down your risk of hamstring injury, you cut down your risk of calf strain as well, because the tightness there feeds into tightness in the calf. And it's really simple. There's a few different ways that you can do it, but it's just so I'll do that.
So the crouching 3 plus the open hip stretch plus the hamstring floss.
And in terms of order, I would actually do the neural floss. I'd do my foam rolling. So you're on the ground, foam roll. Then straight after, I'll do the neural floss.
Yep.
And then I would get into the crouching 3, and then move into an activation phase. We're doing a bit of glute stuff, which is all in the PDF, and we've got the videos on our YouTube, so it's easy to follow. If you've done all those things, you've done a wonderful job hitting the reset button, and your body is now ready to
so that washes off any residual tightness from your last session or your last game,
or as much tightness as you can wash off.
Or sitting in the car at the desk, and so now you're back to a baseline ready to perform as best you can.
Yeah, so get religious about doing that as a soccer player, and I think that is going to give you the best possible load. Because really, you can control the load a bit, but the biggest thing under your control is your own personal physical load tolerance. How well your body tolerates that load. So if you can attend to that, and then do some basic strength, doesn't have to be amazing stuff. The FIFA 11, so if you did that, if you did our approach plus the FIFA 11.
Yeah, my one reservation about the FIFA 11 is it doesn't have that reset button of the roll stretch activate.
Yeah, so you just put ours in the front of it.
Yeah, so you go the core advantage warm up 2.0 plus then into FIFA 11. It's got some running warm-up stuff, some running drills, a couple of agility things, and it's got things like Nordics.
You'd love to see, it'd be great to see a large enough cohort, like a large club, have 5 years. The problem is that people don't have the data.
It's hard to follow athletes bounce around.
But to have 5 years of data and then and only implement that change. Like, don't do anything really fancy. Just do the fundamentals brutally well.
Every session, 10-15 minutes at the start. Yep.
You would see injury rates go down, performance go up, speed over 20 meters would increase.
Because the best thing about that is not only does the performance go up because your body's sitting in a better spot, but because you're more durable, you're not getting injured often. That means you can play more consistently. Means you can keep your fitness up. You don't keep going up and down in fitness and strength. And you just keep playing.
Your loads really.
And you keep practicing. You get skills. Yeah.
So I would call that baseline soccer. So do that to get your body up to a nice baseline.
Neutral, if you will. Yeah,
and then the next stage is obviously to do proper strength and power training. And I think things are often like a pendulum. People take one thing too. It's like we're doing no strength, and it's like we're doing all the strength. We're doing really heavy lifting.
We're doing all the distance running. We're doing nothing over 10. It's like it's always somewhere in the
and so it would be a matter of doing an appropriate amount of strength. But I'm not interested in soccer players doing double body weight stuff particularly. I think you're messing with the SIJ.
Explosive Olympic lifting or anything like that.
No, I feel like if you just got them doing, great, obviously Nordics, building them into the program, doing some good ROM squats, so some
grinds,
just getting some good range, and then getting your strength up. So if you are, I think, if you're a 70 kilo athlete and you're playing soccer and you're over 14 years of age, you should be aiming to be building towards being able to core lift 70 kilos.
Yeah.
If you can core lift 70 kilos or above, you've got a decent single leg squat.
Arabesque or a loaded single leg RDL.
Yeah, you do all those things. It's just so much benefit without that much work. It's a disproportionate reward, I think.
Yeah.
In a sport that'll really show up. Yeah. Good. Do I need to tie in? You know what? It's a simple tie-in. Do some lifting.
Yeah.
Don't just do cardio. Remember that the strength gives you power, it gives you durability, and it gives you a strength reserve. Which means you can run faster at less effort.
Yeah. So everything you do on the field becomes easier as a result of being slightly stronger. So you'll go out there and you'll be putting out the same amount of power, same amount of speed, or same amount of force as your opponents, but it feels easier relative to what your capacity is. You've got these little buffers on it.
Something more in the tank.
Yeah.